Here we are at the world-famous Stanglwirt Hotel in the Austrian Alps. This is in Going, Austria. It's really close to Kitzbühel, Austria. Here you see how historic it is. Here's the, this is actually the restaurant for the Stanglwirt. We can go inside, take a little tour. This is where the Klitschko's, Vladimir and Vitali had their training camp for their historic run. Vladimir, heavyweight champion for over 10 years. You still see an old horse-drawn carriage over here. Very historic building. Let's take a look inside. Not many people have seen the inside of this famous hotel, outside of the guests, naturally. Arnold Schwarzenegger comes here all the time. All kinds of celebrities come here, and we'll take a look here. This is one of the most complete poster collections of all the Klitschko fights. We'll take a look here. This is the fitness area. We're not going to go inside the hotel. We're going to go down to the fitness area here. You can see where it says here in the fitness, Stanglwirt always has their logo with the 5 stars on it. This is the Austrian Alps, the mountain range, right by the Stanglwirt Hotel here. This is called Wilden Kaiser. So here is the fitness area. We'll start here. Here's the poster collection here. All the fights that they trained here. This is Vitali against Solis. This was in Cologne, Germany. Here's Vladimir against David Hay. This was a very historic fight. Huge, actually a big fight here for Germany because Hay had a big name. Coming from England, this was in Hamburg at the open soccer stadium, and it was raining. I remember this was on, this was in July, and it rained. It was July 2nd, and it rained the worst that day in the open stadium of the whole year. Then here we have Vitali against Derek Chisora. This here is probably the story behind this poster is Derek Chisora is probably the only person that slapped Vitali Klitschko that's still alive, because it would happen at the weigh-in before the fight. It would have happened after the fight. It might have been problems for Derek Chisora. But then actually Chisora fought David Hay in the post-fight press conference. It was really bizarre. Here we have Vitali versus Thomas Adamek. This was in the brand new soccer stadium in Wrocław, Poland. It was a very historic night in Poland. This is probably the biggest boxing historic night in Poland in the history of boxing. Here's Vladimir against Derek Chisora, kind of like as a revenge fight for that whole slapping incident. Then here we have Vladimir versus Jean-Marc Mormac from France. Then we have here Vitali fought Manuel Char. This was, I believe this was Vitali's last fight. He actually fought this in Moscow in 2012 against Manuel Char. Then we have here, this was one of the highest rated fights ever in Germany, Vitali versus Shannon Briggs. Shannon the Cannon, Let's Go champ Briggs. He was such a showman, a self-promoter, and then him challenging Vitali for the title. He was in the hospital for about two weeks after the fight. He had a torn biceps and a broken orbital socket, but he put up a valiant effort, and it was a very high-rated fight on German TV because Shannon was such a good self-promoter. Here is Vladimir versus Sam Peter. This was the second time. They fought the first time in Atlantic City, and then this was the second time they fought. This was in Frankfurt. This was actually when Abel Sanchez, this is a story a lot of people don't know. Abel Sanchez was training Sam Peter, and Gennady Triple G Golovkin was in the corner with Abel Sanchez and with Sam Peter. I'm wearing the hat here from Bjorn Schultz. He's the personal trainer here at the Stanglwirt. Also gives boxing lessons. This is still, I break out the Team Klitschko Strelson jacket. I only wear this when I come here to Europe or when I come to Austria. I never wear it in California. It's too warm, but it's great here in the snow. So this was Sam Peter. The second fight with Vladimir this year was Albert Sosnowski, Vitali versus Albert Sosnowski in one of his title defenses. This was Vladimir versus Tony Thompson. This was on my birthday, on Emmanuel Stewart's birthday. We had 3 members of the Klitschko team that had birthdays on July 7th. And this was actually in Switzerland. Tony Thompson, there was a famous thing with RTL that they filmed on top of the mountain range with Vladimir and Tony Thompson to help promote the fight. So then we had the third person on the team was the physical therapist, Aldo, that we all had, ironically, the birthday on the same day, July 7th. Then it was Vladimir versus Mariusz Wach, 2 of the tallest heavyweights to ever fight for a heavyweight championship. Wach was actually one of the only people that Vladimir fought that was taller than him. This is Vladimir against Eddie Chambers, Fast Eddie Chambers. This was in Düsseldorf at the Esprit Arena, one of the biggest indoor arenas in Germany. Then here we have Vitali versus Kevin Johnson. This was also in Switzerland, in Bern, very scenic city, Bern, Switzerland. Here we have Vladimir versus Chagayev. This was kind of a rivalry with them both coming up. Chagayev was a great amateur, and this was his shot at the heavyweight title. Vladimir had won this fight, one of the title defenses during his historic run. Then we had here Vitali versus Juan Carlos Gomez. There was history here because they were both in the same gym. Vitali was trained by Fritz Dunig, Juan Carlos Gomez was trained by Fritz Dunig. They were both with Universum boxing promotions at the time, and then they wound up fighting. Gomez was one of the best cruiserweights ever in the sport of boxing, and he moved up to heavyweight to challenge Vitali for his title. Then here we have Vladimir versus Pianetta. This was in Mannheim at the SAP Arena, a very nice arena in Mannheim. This was a pretty historic fight. Vladimir versus Povetkin, you know, the politics with Ukraine and Russia, and this actually took place in Moscow. This went to purse bids and was a historic number, I think $23 million at that time that was bid to bring that fight to Moscow for Vladimir to defend his titles. You see here he had the WBA, IBF, WBO, IBO titles. The only reason he didn't have the WBC titles at that time because Vitali was a WBC champion. Then here you have Vladimir versus Rockman. This was back in 2008, also in Mannheim at the SAP Arena. This is a very historic fight. This is where Vitali, after 4 years being out of the ring and retiring from boxing because of all of his injuries, his shoulder injury, his back injury, his knee injury, he was out for 4 years. Sam Peter had won the WBC title after Vitali retired. And then Vitali, you know, a lot of fighters say they need a tune-up fight even after 1 year being out of the ring. After 4 years, he came back, beat the world champion, and took his WBC title back. This was in Berlin. Very historic fight for the Klitschko era, where Vitali got his title back. Then this is Vladimir versus Tony Thompson. He actually fought Tony Thompson 3 times, and Vladimir at the time was living in Hamburg, so that's why it says a champ comes home because he fought Thompson in 2008 in Hamburg. Then this was a very dangerous fight. This is when Vladimir fought Pulev. This was 2014. Pulev was a huge puncher at the time, and I mean still is, but this was a very dangerous fight, and Vladimir really, I think that he knocked him out with a triple left hook where he just he pummeled him and knocked him out. But that was Pulev was an extremely dangerous fighter. This is actually the Vladimir versus Tyson Fury. Fury was the first one to beat Vladimir after that historic run over 10 years as heavyweight champion. Fury won a decision also in Düsseldorf at the Esprit Arena. First time Vladimir lost after that historic run. Here's some you see, like a soccer team, have a lot of famous athletes that come up here. Here's the owner, Balthasar Hauser, his son Johannes Hauser, a lot of celebrities. Like I said, here's from Bayern Munich. Here's some teams, the youth soccer, and then you come over here. We go further into, this is getting closer to the, they also have a huge tennis area here. Here's the fitness center. Here you see Vitali, photo with Fritz Stunek. Fritz, one of the most iconic trainers in history, certainly in German boxing. Then you have here James Ali Bashir with both Vladimir and Vitali. You have done various pictures here. Here's Vitali with his WBC title and Vladimir in the ring. Here's Vitali stretching with his fitness trainer. This was a great photo. RTL, they wanted to recreate the Rocky scene where he was training in the snow here at the Stanglwirt in Austrian Alps, carrying a piece of wood or a tree stump. And then here's again Vitali and Fritz. Here's Vitali on one of the horses at Stanglwirt. Here's the collection of the belts, the world title belts here, both Vitali and Vladimir. They were sponsored by Mobilat at the time. Here again is Vitali Vladimir with the owner, Balthasar Hauser. Here's a great photo with Vladimir, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was up here. This was the Klitschko training camp t-shirts. Here's more various photos of them up here. Here's a photo with Vladimir. Trixie, she kind of runs the whole guest services. Chef David, there's a photo with him. Here's a team here with Jonathan Banks, Emmanuel Stewart. Legendary nights up here with having drinks with Emmanuel Stewart at the bar here at the Stanglwirt. Here's again some more photos, and then here probably one of the fights that Vladimir's best known for, his last fight, the Anthony Joshua fight, naturally at the Wembley Stadium, right there. That was a lot of people want to see Vladimir come back. That was his last fight. Sold out Wembley Stadium, broke the record, 90,000 people for a boxing match. So that's a small tour here of the Stanglwirt Hotel. Hope you enjoyed it. Behind the scenes look at the Klitschko training camp that was here for so many years, over 10 years, where they trained here preparing for their fights. So wish everyone a good day, and we'll see you soon.